Hi everyone, I'm John Mead from A16, and I want to welcome everyone for coming. Thank you for being here and to hear Jack and his Mount Whitney presentation at Wild Wednesdays at Helix Brewing. So welcome. First, thank you. Thank you. First, a call out to Cameron Ball, who's over there right now brewing beer. Cameron owns this place, and he's the brewmaster as well. And he's done a great job with it. And the thing that he's done that's most brilliant is allow us the opportunity to, any Wednesday of the year we want to, we've got this space here, and to put on presentations. And so when A16 closed our store, we closed our stores down, we wanted to keep the spirit alive. And one of the ways that I felt was maybe the best way to do that was to continue on with the presentations we had in our stores. And Helix used to bring the beers, for that event, so it's appropriate, and we're thankful that we are able to do that here in this, such a great space. And Wild Wednesdays, just like they were in the store, it's all about inspiring this outdoor community that we have, building this outdoor community, having fun doing it, and spreading some information and how to get out there safely and responsibly in the outdoors. But tonight, we have an extra special presenter. Many of you will recognize him. Many of you maybe have heard Jack's presentation before. But before I introduce Jack, I wanted to introduce his better half, and that's Betsy behind on the computer. She's the Wizard of Oz back there doing all the things that's going to make him look so good. And you'll hear her chime in every now and then if he gets something wrong. So they kind of team up a little bit. But we didn't mic her up, so she said she didn't want to be mic'd up. Anyway, I could go on, but I won't. I'll turn it over to someone who is extremely well positioned to be able to give this presentation. Betsy started climbing Mount Whitney, scrambling up it when she was just a young girl, a couple of years ago. And she has been to the top. She's been to the summit 68 times in her life. It's just a lot. Jack had to outdo her, and he didn't get started until he was 50,
yes, sir.
Which was just a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he has, since that point, has climbed that mountain and summited it 206 times, excuse me. I don't want to give you any extra credit. Some of the times, at least once, if not more, he's gone all the way from Lone Pine to the summit, back again. And a couple times I think he zigzagged, and you'll tell all about that. But before I bring Jack up, I do want to thank a couple of the climbing clubs that are here. Mia, raise your hand. Keith's over there, and she's put the word out to take a hike, and San Diego Hikers Enthusiasts says. So thank you for, I garbled that up. Thank you for putting the word out, and that's appreciated. And welcome everyone, of course. All right, Crazy Jack is going to talk about Mount Whitney, how to do it in a safe and responsible manner, and how to do it in a round trip. Jack Northam.
Thank you. Well, first off, we need to thank you folks for coming, because I can tell you that if you don't show up, my wife won't come, and I'm standing here all by myself, so that's not a very good deal. Obviously, John Mead, friend and true friend, and been a long ways. We started in his store, asking him what do you think about if we tried to do a talk. They already had a Whitney presentator. It was Kurt Wedberg. It was a great presentation.
Sorry.
But unfortunately, he needs about 10 hours, and he didn't have that much time. So we recognized maybe there's a need for some more information from somebody else and pass on, do something different. So that's how we got started, and we've enjoyed every single time. It's never been a downfall. It's always been fun for us. And I don't know how we got to this point. 206 kind of seems like an unrealistic number, and it is an unrealistic number. But when you have a real joy of what you're doing, and you just feel comfortable there, it's your comfort zone, you get on the trail and you start hiking, and you know what that flower, well, Betsy knows that flower. She's teaching me. You recognize that rock, you say hi to it, it doesn't really talk back. But you know, it's been always fun, and I've always said I didn't want to ever end on a downer on Whitney. People say, well, how many times are you going to do this? I'm going to be like Forrest Gump. I'm just going to get a part way up and turn around and say, that's enough. I'm fine. I'm good with it. So anytime we go, anytime I go, I have to always remember this trail was built not for me, but for all of us. And if we just now discovered a new Whitney that was higher than 14,508, do you honestly think that we would build the trail to it? I don't know. I don't think so. We can't fix our streets, folks. I mean, they're not going to build a trail to go up to some strange mountain. Thank heavens they did for Whitney. And there it is for us to enjoy and to honor it in such a way. So whatever you take up, you bring back. You don't jump off the trail and make it shorter. Don't need to.
What's a wag bag?
What is a wag bag? Wag bag is a waste alleviation gel bag. And you'll hear all about that, but I'm not going to demonstrate it, but you'll hear about it. All right, let's move on with the slides. Can you folks see? Can you see?
Yeah, we're good.
Just some quick facts. Obviously, we already know it's the highest mountain in the lower 48 at 508. That's what makes Whitney one special mountain. If it wasn't as high as it is, if it wasn't the highest in the lower, I'm not sure how many people would even want to go. But it is the highest. It's named after Josiah, and geologist, director, built in 1904. Think about that, 1904. A lot of work there, and the hut was built in 1909. That hut still stands there. People will go in and try to sleep in it at night sometimes. Make a mistake and leave the door open, and the snow blows in. It fills up with snow, but it's there. There's different routes to do the mountain. There's the main trail. There's the mountaineer's route. There's climbing routes. And from the west side, let's back up to the climbing route. How many of you would attempt to do a climbing route of Whitney? Yes. How many of you have actually done the climbing route to Whitney? Yes, there's one more hand coming up. This young lady wasn't content on just going up 68 times. I want to learn how to climb it, not hike it, climb it. So Mr. Kurt Wedberg taught her how to do that. It took, 6 tries due to various things. Weather, mostly weather. You have to pay attention to the weather, oh, Whitney. And she summited. I was there waiting impatiently on the top, in the mist, in the rain, in potential lightning storm. And I couldn't help her. Kurt Wedberg had full control, and they arrived to the summit, immediately started going back down that quick. But she did make it on the climbing route. Most people use the main trail, but it's also a good route. Mountaineer's route is also obtainable. And from the other side, from the west side, you got the High Sierra Trail, John Muir Trail, Army Pass, Cottonwood Pass, Chris Hart's Pass. So there's a lot of ways to get up on top of Whitney. Any questions as we go, please raise your hand and let me know. Yeah, permit. That's a sad story for me. I would always thought that since I did it this many times, people would say, oh, shoot, you don't need a permit. You're good to go. They see my name on a computer and automatically kick it out. They said, this guy's gone too many times. Kick it out. But you have to have a permit to do this. And they're required year-round. That means anything between November and May, you can self-issue that permit. But you better know what you're doing before that. Otherwise, you might go on the lottery. How many of you actually went on the lottery and was successful? Look at that. Show of hands. 1, 2, 3. Anybody going in September? Can I go with you? I'm not successful. I tried hard. There is such thing on Facebook now called Whitney Permit Share. Well, there is no sharing the permit. People want to buy one, they want to get into a spot with you or whatever, but you can't transfer the permit. The name is the name on it, and that's it. If you have an alternate leader, that can be a name also that can use the permit. But it's not a situation where you can just give me your permit and I'll use it because you're not. Equipment. Well, that's advisable. I've seen people without them, but I encountered a guy this last, what was it, September? And he had minimal stuff. Good hiker, but he had minimal gear. So I finally had to ask him, do you have any stuff with you? He says, well, I did, and then the bear took it. So he was really short-handed on gear. So we'll talk about bears in a little bit, but you know, a good thing to start with is a day pack, unless you're planning on spending the night. We've kind of focused this talk on doing it in one day. Your permit is good for 24 hours, midnight to midnight. So that's one day. So you don't really need an overnight pack if you're going to do it in one day. But you need enough pack to put clothes in, food in, water in, all the essentials, but not an overnight pack. So people say, well, what is your pack like? Well, it's just a day pack. It's simple, it's pretty small, but I have the necessary items that I think I need. So start with a day pack. That question of hiking poles, yes, or hiking poles, no. I've probably hiked it 204 times without poles. 205 and 206, yes. You get my age, you don't always stand up straight. You tend to kind of lean over sometimes, you know. And I've been leaning over way too many times lately, so I'm going to rely on my poles. But hiking boots or trail runners, I'm a trail runner guy, but maybe you're a hiking boot guy. That's fine too. Whatever. I've seen, believe it or not, somebody went by me, didn't pass me up. Nobody passes me up, but went by me barefooted. And I went, oh my gosh. I didn't say anything to him, but his foot was just gigantic and it was flat. And well, the funny story was that later that day when I get back down to the store, I recognized this young man who was also on the summit before and I said to him, hey, did you see that guy that was barefooted? And he says, oh yeah, that was my dad. Oh, I think myself when I'm saying stupid, crazy, what? I mean, because he told me the story, and he's true stories. His knees, back, hips were all out of whack. Met up with these, people that went barefoot, and that was his saving grace. He did put sandals on the way down, but he was truly barefooted. I can't walk out of my yard in barefoot, so he did it. But hiking boots are important, or trail runners. Socks, that's up to you, one or two, but make them wool. Make them wool. If you go this year, and we'll talk about that later too, it's going to be wet. It's going to be wet. So I've walked through the water a number of times, and I wear wool socks. They're dry in 15, 20 minutes. Doesn't matter. It's better than walking on a rock, slipping off of it, than it is to walk right through the water, unless the water's too high, than it is just to try to scale the rocks. Okay, Bets? Also, you're going to need some water bottles or hydration system. You're going to need a water purification system, a pump, Steri-Pen. The new ones are better than that. Bets, what's the newest one that you use?
Oh, it's
Ice drop.
I'm drawing a blank. Yes, Sawyer squeeze, yeah.
So what?
Sawyer.
Solar squeeze. Because the water in Whitney, it's advisable to purify it. Do I purify it? No, but you better purify it. The rangers cannot tell you, don't purify the water. But if you're looking for the right places, and I've been able to find it three good places, for me, it works fine without purification. Maybe that's a big gamble, and maybe it isn't, but it's advisable to purify your water. Plenty of water. I'm going to talk about a normal year. This is not the normal year. Okay, we're going to go back to a normal year. If you did the main trail, you would cross water 8 different times coming out. So there's plenty of water to drink and purify. Flashlight, absolutely, or a headlamp. You're going to either start in the dark or finish in the dark. And make it a quality one. They got now that are so bright they just blind that person standing next to you, but you really need a good light. And chances are you'll use it. Like I said, either the beginning or in the end, you'll need a light. First aid kit, space blanket, advisable. Yes, space blanket. Well, let's say somebody's on the trail and they're hurt and they need rescue. They need search and rescue to come and help them. They need to stay warm. And you believe how much body temperature you lose, body heat, the minute you stopped hiking, laying on the deck there. So maybe somebody needs your space blanket. That's good to have. Rescues are a real challenge for search and rescue. And remember, you have to make the right decision on that. You have to be smart enough to know, maybe I need to turn around, maybe I'm not okay, maybe I should quit. You got summit fever, no, I'm okay, I'll keep going, and then it can get too late. But, you know, there's a lot of accidents on Whitney, a lot, and they're not foreseen. People don't go to Whitney thinking I'm going to have an accident. People don't go to Whitney thinking I might die, but it has happened, unfortunately. So you got to be prepared for those kind of things that happen. Also, that wag bag. Who was it yelling at me, wag bag? Who said that? What is a wag bag?
Poop bag.
Yeah. Years ago, there was many years ago, you'd probably just go off to the tree somewhere and do your thing. And now there's not a tree that you go to that somebody else hasn't gone to, or a rock. And then there was the solar toilets, a couple of them. Well, they worked until people wanted to vandalize them, and then they stopped working. Challenge to clean them. And somebody came up with the idea of the waste alleviation gel, the wag bag. And it only works if you bring it back. Because if you go on the trail, you will find somebody else's wag bag sitting there on a rock waiting for somebody else to bring it back after they used it. So it only works, like I said, the rangers have a horrendous job without wag bags. You add tack on the wag bags, and now they're really hurting. They got to go up with a big blue barrel and fill that thing up and bring them back down. Use wag bags. But that's the purpose of the wag bag, is to, whatever you take up, you bring it back. That's all there is to it. So, and I'm not going to demonstrate it. Kurt Wedberg could do a really good demonstration, but my knees are so bad, I don't think I could bend down like that anymore. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, you need your sunglasses, you need your chapstick, you need your sunscreen, all those items. Clothes, yeah, you probably need some clothes. I think there was an opportunity I missed out on where somebody was doing a nudie tootie and I wasn't there. But clothes are important too. Layering works best. Layering. You know what I'm talking about. We like to use that icebreaker or the merino wool material against your skin. It doesn't itch. First thing I heard wool was, oh, I can't do that. It's going to itch. It doesn't itch. But it's really great because it absorbs, stays warm against your skin, doesn't smell, all body odors. You need an insulation layer. And raincoat, windbreaker, that's a combination. I use the same for both. Probably going to need a fleece down jacket this year for sure. Something to keep you nice and warm. Long pants / shorts. I'm yet to have worn the long pants, but I do wear shorts. So, gloves and a hat, yes, that's also important. These are just things that you would do for any mountain. I don't care if you went up San Gorgonio or San Jacinto or wherever, but just that kind of material is good to have with you all the time. Preparation for it, well, that's something that's probably all you. I think having a positive attitude will take you a long ways on getting ready to do Whitney. So Whitney is what? 22 miles round trip. Sounds like a long ways. You're going to rise from 8,360 to 4,508. That's a lot of elevation gain. So you got to be prepared. The only thing you cannot do in San Diego is get acclimated. You can get your body physically ready to do it. I don't go with special hikes. I walk around the neighborhood, walk downtown, wherever. I mean, I just walk. But stairs would be great for preparation, because Whitney is a lot of stairs. They don't look like stairs, but they're a lot of stairs, a lot of rocks. So, but you need to have a positive attitude when you're doing that to get in shape. I think that's part of the fun for me, is to try to maintain that physical fitness. Aerobic exercise, stationary bicycle, stairs, find some and go up and down. Down is more important than going up. Okay, you got hills, find some and go up and down those too. I wish Whitney was only up. But it isn't. The hard part is when you have to come back down that 11 miles, down those steps and trails, and your gravity is working against you, it's pushing you down, but you know, use your poles, be safe, be ready for a long, long day. I say that because people will tend to leave, I'm going to say, a little bit earlier than maybe they really need to. Everybody asks you, well, how long does it take? How long does it take you to do this? Well, that's not fair. Don't ask me, because I can't give you an explanation on how or why I do it the way I do it. But when my baseball team, I used to coach at Point Loma Nazarene, when they actually heard that I did it twice in one day, 44 miles. And by the way, after I did the very first one, I said, never, never again. That was ridiculous. Well, then 6 months later, I said, was it that bad? Really? So, just to let you know, I did it 5 more times. So I did it till I was 61 years old, twice in a day. And you wonder how I got that name, Crazy Jack?
No.
God, no. Well, my baseball team said, wait, coach, if you can do a round trip in 8 hours, you could do 3 in 24. I said, come on, you come with me and we'll try it, but I don't think it's going to work. But it is a long haul. And like I said, if you leave at midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning, it's going to be darker than sin. It's going to be cold. You got a long ways to hike in the dark. But it's better then than it is when you're coming back. And I did meet up with a lady and her husband hanging around the portals. And I said, you getting ready to hike Whitney? She says, yeah, we are. I said, good. Have you done it before? No, I haven't done it before. So I gave her a few tips. Saw her a couple of days later. I said, how was that hike? She says, good. I said, what time did you leave? Midnight. What time did you get back? Midnight. They used the whole 24 hours. So, but they were fine. It was a long haul, but they made it. Okay? Acclimation. Now that's like I said, you can't do that at this level. For Whitney, most of the time you have to get above 8,000 or more in elevation. Now that doesn't mean you have to hike at 8,000 or more, it just means you have to get there and be at that elevation. You can sit around, play cards, not drink beer, but you could do other things, and your body's acclimating, believe it or not. Did you know that most commercial airlines are at 8,000 feet? That's what the elevation is in the cabin. So you can go on a long plane ride and get acclimated. No, not really. But to get to 14,508, you need to have more red cells in your system, and you need to have your body give it time to adjust to it. There is such a thing called Diamox. Never taken it, but it's a diuretic, and people have been successful and unsuccessful both. But I think the natural way is, for me, works best. So for us, if we're going to hike on a Friday, I'd get there on Monday, sit around Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and hike on Friday. Sit around meeting at 8,000 or higher, 8,003. You can, yes, sir.
Altitude of the portal?
8,360 feet. So you could go to Horseshoe Meadow Road, hang out at 10,000 feet. You can drive that far. You can hang out at 10,000 feet. But you just can't do it at sea level. And if people think that they can drive up tonight and start hiking at midnight, or tomorrow morning even, it's really hard on your body. It doesn't want to do that. And it will let you know about at 13,000 when you really don't want it. You get real sick. And so it's just not advisable. But you have to have enough time to acclimate. We try for 4 days. Hydration is very important. By the way, alcohol is not hydration. There's other items that you can put in your system that would be better, but not alcohol for hydrating. And you're going to rest the day before. Did we miss something here, Betsy? Okay. Well, let me tell you, resting the day before is important. The 2 days before, we suggest that you hike no more than 5, maybe 6 miles. So what you can do is you can actually start on the Whitney Portal Trail. You can hike up to Lone Pine Lake, which is 2.5 miles up the trail. Get you up to 10,000. You can do that, it's a freebie. They don't need a permit yet. But if you do that the day before you hike, that's where we run into the complication. Because it does take some energy to do that hike. And then you get back, 2 or 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and then you're going to get up and start hiking at 1 or 2 in the morning. You don't really get recovered from it. So we recommend if you're going to do that, do it 2 days before. Stretch your legs, go out there and enjoy the scenery. And it also gives you a chance to see the trail that you're going to hike on in the dark. The first leg in the dark. See it in the daytime. But don't think you're going to hike the day before a strenuous hike and then really, maybe you can, but I just can't fully recover before it's day hike time. Here's Horseshoe Meadow, 10 grand, the Mammoth, 79 to 89, Whitney Portal, 83. And these are the things that you could get AMS, acute mountain sickness. That's pretty hard in itself. That's a headache. It's could even be vomiting, just feeling downright crummy. High altitude pulmonary edema. That's a real bad one. High altitude cerebral edema is even worse. And Kurt Bergberg would tell us all, the only way to get out of it, to make yourself better, is to go down. Quit messing around, keep going up. Turn around and go back down. It's amazing how better you'll feel by the time you get down even, let's say it started at 13,000, I felt bad. By the time you get to 10 and 9, you're going to feel pretty good again. Not good enough to turn around and go back, but if you wait too long and it builds up in your body, it's very, very dangerous. I've been on rescues by default. I'm not a rescue person, but when you hang around the portals, hang around the store, people come running down, hey, we need a rescue, we need a rescue. Well, this one was legit. There was a lady that was totally flat on her back. She doesn't even know where she was, totally out of it. And it was very apparent that she needed to be down out of the altitude as fast as possible. So Doug Thompson, who owns the Whitney Portal store, myself, and about 5 others, he grabbed on the trail, made a makeshift gurney with poles and clothes and put her in it, and we started moving her down the trail. As soon as search and rescue got there, they immediately put her on that one-wheel gurney and moved her even faster. Took her to the hospital, and she was there for 3 days. So she's lucky. Yes?
I was wondering, so in that case, you're bringing her down quickly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can bring her down quickly. Just get her down, get her out of the altitude. She did survive, but it was close. So, but you don't want to have that problem. The night before, I always liked the night before. It's kind of a fun night. Don't plan on sleeping. You won't, as hard as you try. You want to organize and check all of your equipment out. Do I want to pick on Betsy right here? Check all equipment out? Or should I just ignore it? No, I think we should pick on Betsy. So I was heading off for, what number was it? 150. Special number. Invited my best friend, my wife. Want to come with me? Well, yeah. We're geared up. It's October. Was it an October trip? It can be kind of chilly in October. So we're hiking up the trail in the dark. And she said to me, you know, my sure it's cold. My feet are cold. I said, okay. Well, then finally we stopped to analyze the problem. She didn't have any soles on either of her boots. They had come off. And these are boots that she hadn't worn for a while. Because it was going to little snow on the ground, she thought I should have these boots. Well, I'm telling you, she paid for it. She had to turn around and go back down, so I was on my own again. But check all of your equipment. Make sure everything's good. Pack your backpack up. Bag your food. You don't want to take the big bag of Fritos. You can break it up into small things. Lay out your clothes. It's pretty important to have everything exactly what you, or wear your clothes to bed. Maybe that also works too. I don't. Decide on a start time. What does that mean? Decide on a start time. Well, if you're all by yourself, it doesn't matter. You can decide, tell yourself, I'm going to start at 5 or 4 or 3. But if you got a group with you, 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, decide together. What time do we start? Well, how do we know what time to start? Well, we usually use a guide that says, get to the top by noon. Why would we say that? Well, in the summertime, when there's thunderstorm activities brewing, it may look perfectly clear at 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, but it doesn't take long for that one little puffy cloud to invite all his friends to gather up, and the next thing you know, it's raining on you. We want you off the top before that happens. So we said, whatever it's going to take for you to get to the summit, if that means leaving at 12 o'clock and taking 12 hours, then do it. But you don't want to be in a situation where you're summiting at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Thunderstorms are all around, lightning is all around. Very dangerous place to be. So if it takes you that long, fine. If it takes you 9 hours, great. 6 hours, better yet. Whatever, just get there before noon. If it's a beautiful day, it doesn't matter. I've been on the top without a shirt on. It was that warm. We've been on the top and people are flying kites above us. I've been on the top when it was freezing, midnight, by myself, darker than dark. My Snickers bar was frozen. It couldn't even take a bite out of it. It can be really, really cold up there. Doesn't take much. For every 1,000 feet you gain, you lose anywhere from 3 to 5 degrees of temperature. So people get misjudged about, they're in Lone Pine. It's 100. And they can see Whitney right there. Oh my gosh, must be 80 up there if it's 100 down. No, it doesn't work that way. Every 1,000 feet, you could lose 3 to 5 degrees. So you want to be prepared and aim to be the top by noon. Day of the hike, let's break it up into sections. We have a stack of cards we're going to put out for you after the presentation. Take one, please. It's a mileage marker thing. So if you break the hike up into sections, so let's say that first section would be up to Lone Pine Lake. You turn the corner, there's a sign, got to have your permit in hand there. Next time it's Muir Outpost Camp. I mean, that's mile 3.5. Muir Lake, 4 miles. Break it up. Oh, I'm here. I'm at Outpost Camp. Next stop, Trail Camp. That's mile 5. That way you don't, if you keep thinking 22 miles, 22 miles, 11 miles up, that's a harder way to go about it. That's the harder way to do it. So break it up into sections. Water. Under a normal year, we're going to still cover it's not a normal year. Only carry enough water to get to the next water, because water will be the heaviest item you will carry. So one of our hikes, way back when, I think the first time we went up the Mountaineers route, Betsy and I and Doug Thompson and one of his cooks, I carried a bladder of water all the way up and all the way back. That was a lot of water. Of course, I was young. I mean, I was 53. So, but that was ridiculous. So now we've learned where you can stop and get that water. So you don't need to carry all that water at the same time. The last water, if everything's under normal conditions, would be on the switchback. Switchback 23, 43, 24. She's correcting me. There's a spring that comes, there's a big snow field, and it comes out, water comes out onto the trail. It's already purified. Get your bottles, fill it up there, or your bladder, fill it up there. But you do pass water a lot. If you're willing to use that water, saves you a lot of weight in transportation. Also, watch the weather. We'll show you some clips of how the weather changed on one of our hikes. It can change just like that. It's just notorious for being beautiful 1 minute, and the next minute you go, what happened? So you got to be prepared for that. When you start the hike, so let's say, for instance, you're down in town, staying at the Dalvilla Motel or the Best Western or what have you. We'll put in a plug for the hostel. Whitney Portal Hostel is where we stay, since Doug Thompson owns that along with the Whitney Portal store. Get in your car, you drive up, you get out of your car, and you go, oh gosh, it's cold up here. So you pile on the clothes. Well, I'm going to tell you, 10 minutes later, you're taking it all back off again because you're warming up. This hike doesn't have any flat sections to it. You start going up and you just keep going up until you get to that summit. So warm up a little bit, shed what you need, don't get overheated. But people get out of their car and they really get cold. The other thing what happens is they take their backpack out, they put it on a rock, or they put it on the table, or they put it somewhere. They turn around away from it, and there is a bear sitting over there watching you. And as soon as he sees it's unattended, they grab it. Why did they grab it? Because there's food in it. We've let them get our food. The minute the bears eat human food, they don't want their food anymore. They're traumatized. They love our food. But you got to protect the bears by not letting them get to your food. So don't leave your backpack out of sight. That gentleman that I told you didn't have any, he went and used the restroom, and he left his pack outside. So he came back and they thought somebody stole it. Well, no, the bear stole it, but so it happens all the time. Pick a pace that works for everyone in your group. I suggest that you put the slowest person in the front. It doesn't work to put the slowest person in the back, because I can tell you what happens. You're ahead of them, you stop, you get a break, you're waiting for that slowest person to catch up, and as soon as that person catches up, what do? You take off again. We've all been there, done that, okay? When Betsy and I hike, she leads most of the time because her pace is perfectly sane. It's a nice steady pace. We're not running. When I hike by myself, I'm like a bat out of hell. Get out of my way. Don't push, don't get in my way. So it's challenging, and you might break up. If you break up the group, let's say somebody doesn't feel good. You got 5 people, and one of them says, you know what, I think I'm going to turn around and go back. Don't let that happen. Do not let that happen by that person's self. Somebody has got to go back with them. A lot of accidents happen because we just ignore that and say, oh, they'll be fine. It's not that far. They'll be fine. So we know a lady that didn't feel good when she started on the trail, took a little crackers, started feeling better. all the way up, all the way back down. Little did she realize she had morning sickness. She was pregnant and did not even know it. So somebody was with her all the time. All right, drink and eat, even if you don't feel like it. It's easy on this trail to ignore. If you think you're thirsty and you feel that you're thirsty, then you've waited too long. Isn't that the old saying? Just keep sipping away. Munch in small amounts. Betsy usually does the food. We decided, you know how to eat food. Just, if you don't like it here, you won't like it up there. You know, the power bars and all that kind of stuff. Find out what it is that you really, but if your palate will change, so you want sweets, you want salts, you want starch, you want whatever, proteins, but it will change as you hike. Just be ready for it and have the stuff ready to munch on. Remember, the summit is only halfway. Now comes the hard part. Be safe and see you on the mountain. So we've got some slides we'd love to show you. Before we go there, do we have any questions on the, yes, sir?
I submitted Whitney too, and it was great, but after that I kind of wanted to do other stuff in the Sierras and internationally and just a lot of other stuff. Didn't you ever want to do other forms of climbing or other mountains or anything? Like, why did you just want to keep doing the same mountain so many times?
Well, I could be,
Can you repeat the question, please?
he wants to know why I didn't hike other mountains other than Whitney.
Or even do technical climbing or ice climbing or mountaineering or rock climbing.
I don't know how to ice climb. I don't know how to technical climb. I could be smart and say, if you have to ask the question, you never understand the answer, but I won't do that. I caught on to it. And when people came up to me and said, you're an inspiration for me. Why? Well, because you're an old man. And you're still doing it, and you're up here.
Bob Rockwell.
Mr. Bob Rockwell was an inspiration for us. He did it over 100 times, but he cheated. He also cheated. He did a lot of those were rescues. Late Mr. Rockwell was a great, you'll see a picture of him. Very knowledgeable person on the mountain, a great friend to have. But he did a lot of those were with Channel Lake rescues. So, but to answer your question, I don't know. It's kind of late now. I mean, I could, do you realize tomorrow is my birthday? I won't tell you how old he is because it's just getting ridiculous, But yeah. Yes, sir?
On like a normal year when it's not like this crazy rain season that we've had this winter, how many spots are there to replenish your water? Like reliable spots?
Well, we have 3 that we use.
Okay. And they cross the trail? Or
Yes, they do. Yes. And if you can remember them, I'll be happy to tell you where they are. But as a result of this year, things will definitely be different. But there's natural springs that come out of a rock, and that natural spring has been always tested by the Forest Service, make sure they're good quality water, and that's one of them. It's right before Outpost Camp. It's in Bighorn Park, it's called. It's on your left. Comes right out of a rock, right there. And you cross it. Yeah, got a picture of it. The other one is the switchbacks, and the other one would be, you drink the water down in portals. That's all you need. Any water in the pipes. It's good water to drink, so you load up there, your first bottle or 2. But yeah, there's good water to drink, and if you're not sure, then don't. Just filter it. Trailside Meadow is my other one. That's mile 5. Beautiful meadow, streams coming right into it. So, okay, well, any other questions real quick? Yes?
One more. One of the things that I didn't know was the size of the wag bag, so I didn't want to use it. And then someone made me see it. Could you explain? Because wag bag seems like a little dog bag, and what I needed to do wasn't going to fit.
Well, you know that people that go up and spend the night, they only give them one wag bag. Now, maybe you're lucky you can get a second or so, but you have to, it's bigger than you think when you're,
It's like your whole body size.
yeah, it is. And
It's not a doggy bag.
no,
It's a multi-use bag.
multi-use bag. And we used
Just want
to,
people to know that.
we
I
used
wish
to-
I had known that.
well, we used to joke around and say, if you're coming down and somebody's coming, you run into somebody and there's that bag hanging off the back of their pack and flapping back and forth, you have two choices. Either one, you drop back further, or you get around them and get going. But no, it's a multi-use bag. But it's not the most enjoyable thing to do, but it's the best thing to do. I mean, you know, like I said, you leave these wag bags on the trail and it's pretty disgusting. This picture here is one of my favorite pictures. It's an F-18 Hornet that's flying by. Took a picture of the mountain, and just to show you, that's the Whitney Portal Road, right there. This is Iceberg Lake, what you don't go to when you're doing the main trail. If you're doing the Mountaineers route, that's where you would stop. You could camp here. That's the summit of Whitney right there, and that little black diagonal line is the summit hut. So I always enjoyed looking at that picture. Okay, Bess, fly through. This is from the street. This is from the road. There's Whitney. People wait, I'm sorry. Go back. People always, that don't know that's Whitney, always think, well, there's Whitney right there. Look how high it is. That's not really, it's just because it's closer to you. It's 13,006 something maybe, but that's called Lone Pine Peak. But that's Whitney right there. And those are the Keeler and Day Needles. Okay, and there's some, you know, every now and then there's some rocks on the road. It's okay. Just don't try to drive over the bigger ones. It's advisable to go around them. They're pretty big. Ah, wow. Yeah, well, that was a few years ago, and that just came down all by its lonesome. I mean, that's Thor right there. And we're going to talk about Thor in just a minute, too. Okay, there's Whitney in the snow. That was January 2004 for us. There's the Whitney Portal store and the pond. Picnic tables here and Portal store, hydro parking. Wind can blow. We blew that, snapped that tree right off. That's at the portals. Oh, black bear. That's the black bear. So he was over here fishing in the pond, and he didn't find anything. So he's not worried. 'Cause he's going over to the parking lot. And he doesn't need a key to get in your car. He just sees something or smells something, and he'll tear that door right off for you. So be kind to them. This is their habitat. This is not. I mean, if a bear walked into here, hey, get out of here. You don't live here. Well, they live there. And we walk right in like it's ours. It's not very fair. Oh, Doug and Erlene Thompson, they're great, great people that own the Portal store. I think this is up to year 30 for Doug now. That's trailhead sign, and there's the trailhead sign. And there's the restroom, which is right on the other side of the the trailhead. By the way, this container right here, this one and the one next to it, is where you would bring that wag bag back down and put it in. There's the start of the trail. This is, I think UCLA was involved with this architectural design. There's a scale over there if you want to weigh it. There's signs inside that tell you this and that. There's water crossing the rocks. Okay, there's the John Muir sign. That's Inyo National Forest. You can have a dog in the Inyo National Forest, but you cannot have a dog in the Sequoia National Park. That's where the problem lies. You can take a dog all the way up the trail crest and be so close to Whitney, but you can't take it past into the forest or into National Park. Oh, look at Bambi. That's a grouse. You all know what a grouse is. It's a little chicken. Makes the weirdest sound. That's a grouse. This is looking back at the Portal Road. Flowers, I know none of them. So be loud, Betsy.
Oh, that's Applegate paintbrush,
Applegate paintbrush.
corn lily,
Corn lily.
Sierra Angelica,
Sierra Angelica.
Western Eupatorium.
Weston, what?
Eupatorium.
I can't pronounce it, sorry. It's purple, whatever it is, it's the purple flowers. There's the logs. There's 11 logs, but they may not be there. I've heard some bad stories about this so far, this hike, but there's 11 logs, and it's 4 steps, 4 steps, 4 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, 11 steps. That's this Lone Pine Lake. Go up and visit it before you hike Whitney. It's beautiful there. This is the sign that says, get out if you don't have a permit, right there. You've got to have a permit. More flowers.
Red heather,
Red heather. Shooting star, I know that one.
pride of the mountain.
Pride of the mountain. Columbine. Columbine. Oh, 3 miles. That's a real sign. That was there back in the, who knows, 30s, 40s, 50s. Go way, way back. Okay, more, by the way, this is drinkable water. Comes out of the rock right here. Come down, now there's a bridge across it. A log across it. That's where I get water. This is another water crossing. This is going into Outpost Camp. That's the first real camp that you come to. You can see the tents right there. It's nice flat gravel, rocky areas. This is looking into Bighorn Park right here. And Outpost Camp is back behind those trees. You're going to go all the way up to here somewhere and along the back sides of these. There's the trail in Outpost Camp. Thank you. There's more rocks to cross. 1, 2, 3, 4. I understand now the rocks are buried. Water's pretty high. Snow's pretty high. Okay. 4 mile marker. This is right at Lake Muir. There it is. Beautiful little lake. This is looking vantage point down. That's Lone Pine Lake, and now back all the way down to the Owens Valley. That's, they say, the last tree. That's nonsense. I found the last tree. There's a tree past that one. It's called the Northam's tree. This is Trailside Meadow. This is a very neat place to get water, take a snack. The pack comes off. You know, you can rest a little bit here. Mile 5. Oh, now this is kind of what it could look like this year. Even though that was dated July 13th, it was a snowy year, as you can see. That's 5 mile marker right there at Trailside Meadow. Oh, what a lovely couple. That was, oh wait, go back. This was our special day. We did our 50th wedding anniversary, renewed our vows on top of Whitney. And this is up the Mountaineers Route with Kurt Wedberg. Kurt, by the way, did the ceremony. He's an ordained minister. And it was a wonderful day. You can just see the joy on our faces. And it was cold and windy. No, it wasn't. It was a nice day, nice day. That's Lake Consultation, frozen. This is trail camp. This is, they call it high camp, trail camp. It's right where you can pitch tents and then look at the switchbacks from here. If you drink that water, filter it at least twice. And then we're gonna, I'm sorry.
Was that at 12,000 feet?
Yes, trail camp is 12,000 feet. And you're gonna hike up to here, which is 13,600, up to that high point. So this is the switchbacks without snow. Well, a little snow, but not real snow. I don't know where they are anymore. Are you talking about the cables? In here. Cables are part of the trail. It's a very important part to keep us on the trail. And right at the moment, the cables are buried under snow. So it's a mute point. That is the 7? Oh, funny story about 7. It disappeared. That's it right there, 7 miles. Well, this rock, standing up like this, fell forward. So the 7 is on the ground. You can't see it anymore. So there was a trail crew working on the trail, and I said, hey, by the way, would you guys mind going up and turning that rock back straight up? They just looked at me like, you nutty. No, we know where it is, but you'll never know. Unless I'm with you, you're never going to find it. Yep, they shot some arrows at me. There's Betsy on the switchback number 44. By the way, how many switchbacks are there? Ha, 97. Quit saying 99. It's 97. Get it? Sure. It's 97. She counts them every single time. And it's a switchback as a switchback. It doesn't turn like 90 degrees. It's a switchback. It turns back. That's where people get confused. That's why they think there's 99. It's 97. So, but here's the cabled area. So right now, it's totally full of snow. Full of snow. There it is. Now we're going back down with the cables. Betsy and that's a pica or pica, however you want to pronounce it. It's one of our favorite ones to find. 8-mile marker. That's a very famous marker because now you only have 4 switchbacks left to do to get the trail crest. And when you do it, oh my gosh. And if you're up here somewhere, okay, this is to point out this little dude right here. Looks kind of faint, doesn't look harmless, looks harmless. Then it gets a little bit bigger, and the next thing you know, it is now snowing. This was in October. What year? I don't know what year it was. But Whitney, that's the summit right there. But look at the conditions. It's snowing.
So the first picture was taken when we got to Trail Camp. By the time we got to the cables, it was snowing.
Yeah,
That's how fast.
that fast, very fast. And you can see, very fast. It was snow. Oh, trail crest, Doug Thompson, Laura, Elizabeth, and who is this? You. Come on, you people. Thank you, Flat Stanley, right here, folks. And he was supposed to go to the summit. This is as far as he got, trail crest 13.6. Isn't that kind of sad? That's as far as he got right there, because right after this picture was taken, we were going to continue on, and at this point you actually descend 140 feet, I think it is, to get down to where the trail then breaks off and goes down to Crabtree Meadow or whatever, and it goes back up. Well, just after the picture's taken, we started walking. She decided to start ice skating. It was kind of spooky. And Doug was on one side, I was on the other, and just grabbed her. And I said, nope, that's it. We're not going to go on. If I had gone every single time it hadn't stopped, I'd probably be at 220. No jokes. Okay, it's just, you have to stop sometimes and be sensible. But that was a fun day, even though it snowed. There's a sign that says trail crest down there, no prohibited. Somebody took a picture of me, anyway. Down the 140 feet, and then you come to the signage. Don't get confused. I mean, it looks confusing here, but it's kind of the way it's all laid out makes sense when you're there, but it has happened. And that's all the signage right there. When you get here, you're going to go up this. When you get coming back, you're going to turn left and go this way. So there was an incident where the boyfriend, girlfriend, maybe it was, got separated. She came down first. She came down here, down. Oh yeah, you gotta keep going down. When he got here, he thought she already went this way. When he got down to trail camp, discovered she wasn't there. She is wandering way the heck down here. She spent a whole, was it 1 day on that trail, lost, so to speak. So, important to know which direction you're going to go. And this, we like to call this one How Find Waldo. But isn't that her right there? That's Elizabeth. So that's the 9-mile marker, which just about is gone. I think Bob Rockwell, bless his heart, there he is, found that for us. And we were just happened to run into Mr. Rockwell that day. And this is the new style of wearing your fleece shirt. Your back's always warm, you don't need it, just wear it in that style. Oh, more flowers.
Sierra Primrose.
Sierra Primrose.
Sky Pilot.
Sky Pilot only grows at above 11,000 feet or so.
Alpine Gold.
Alpine Gold. Here's one of the windows, they call it. The window is where you can actually see the west, see the east, see the west. And you cross over right there. So we tried to do this to show people how wide it is. It's plenty wide. You know, no danger of falling off. Beautiful shot going back down into the Kern River area is right here. This is Timberline Lake. That's a tarn. This is Crabtree Meadow, where we've camped many times. And we all know what that is. Thank you, Guitar Lake. Ooh, it looks like puffy.
Why do they call it Guitar Lake?
Why would they call that Guitar Lake? 10-mile marker, still there, barely. And every now and then, this was 2004, that there'll be snow cups in a major snow field that has a large trench in it, a track, I guess it's called. That's it. Come around the corner, there's another that's Lake Wales, or Wales Lake, excuse me. Looking back the way we just came, the trail is here, somewhere here. That's Mount Muir. Clouds come up. And that hut that was built in 1909, still there. You're registered, sign in right there. This is the door that's supposed to stay closed. Oh, that's some guy. That's Whitney, believe it or not. It looks different, doesn't it? Because I'm on the other, on this side. We were going up Mount Carillon. That's called the Sierra Marmot. And that's it, looking back down to Iceberg Lake. And here she is on the climb. There she's actually climbing the face. Oh, this is a group picture. I won't tell everybody who they are, but it was fun. It was my 50th summit attempt, and it was great to have everybody, friends, come up, and 6 people on that group had never been on the top before. So it was fun. And this is our family pictures, our daughter Amber and youngest son Curtis, he's Jack Jr., our oldest son JJ, and here's Kurt. JJ said, "Great hike, Dad. Next time don't call me, I'll call you." And has he called? No. Ranger Ropalewski, he's now in Yosemite. He just came out of Yosemite, I think. He worked down at Crabtree, and it was just a great fun to run into him at the top. And there's a loving couple again on the top. Oh, this is our 50th. You know, it was a good hike because anybody that can see, I got blood. You know, if you don't draw blood, you don't have a very good hike, folks.
Who's in the middle?
That's Kurt Wenberg.
What does he do?
He's our mountain guide. He actually, you can hire Kurt to take you up Whitney. You can only guide the mountaineer's route. So people have asked me, "Oh, would you guide me up?" I said, "No, I can't because I'm not a guide anyway." But yeah, they can't guide the main trail, but they can guide the mountaineer's route, and that's.
Kurt can take you anywhere in the world you want to go. He's been on top of all the highest summits in all 7 continents.
All 7 continents. He's a great, great guy, and you know, we got the date set up with him, so it was a 2:00 a.m. start and return at 8 p.m. Nice, long, short day.
Why, Jackson? Why were we going that slow?
Oh, I don't know. Why were we going that slow? Because Betsy needed a new knee, and she waited for this, and then 3 weeks later, she had surgery, had a new knee put in. That's why we were going slow. This is just a topo map of the trail, Bighorn Park and Consultation Lake and so on. Here's now Whitney. And here's some sites. You know, there's a lot of informational sites that you can get onto, and Whitney Portal Store, recreation.gov, as you know, recreation wild permits, whatever that is. And my brother-in-law was nice enough to make us a website, so we do have a website, as you can tell, it's called Crazy Jack Markham. This year, based upon where there is right now, and what I think, only my perception of it, is it's very possible the switchbacks will not be open this year. It's very possible that they will stay enough snow on them up until the next snow starts. Now, if so, that's the way they're going to be. Otherwise, it may be in September. But I looked on rec.gov, I look every hour on the hour to see if there was a cancellation, if I can get a permit. And it's full, absolutely full, all of July, all of August, all of September, and all of October. Full. That's 100-day permits, full. But, so I was thinking, you know, maybe in October, if I was going to try again. I don't know. And I want to be healthy. I'm not healthy yet. I had a couple surgeries that set me back, so but I want to warn anybody that's going. Don't be surprised if you don't make it. Because right at the moment, the only people that are making it are skiers or mountaineer people that have very good mountain skills. Nobody is doing it in one day yet. It's just too slow. It just slogs you down. So at any rate, it is what it is. We need the water. We want the water. But when it snows this much, it does put a damper on summer hikers like me. I'm a summer hiker. So we took some pictures off of some websites. And here I think if you can notice, this is April 17th, 2022. Say here's, by the way, mile 8 was right there. When you go 8, 9, 10, 12. Look at that. Look at the difference of May 24th, 2023. You can't even see a switchback. That's real. That's today, May 24th, 2023. Okay, Bets, what else have we got? Oh, he's cute. That's our youngest grandson. Okay, now here, this is the Mountaineers route. And for a skilled person with ice axe, crampons, the equipment that it takes to scale this up to the notch and turn, that's Whitney. You know, this must be a fun thing to do. For a novice in the snow, it's not a place to go. Way, way too dangerous. The old Guitar Lake, look. Pretty neat, huh? It's full of snow, people. This is snow. If you go on the Whitney Portal Store website and you click on Crabtree on the right-hand side, it's going to tell you how many feet of snow. It's still got 3 feet. It had up to 12 or 15 or something. It's just unbelievable. But look at this. That's the miter basin. The miter basin that's usually green and vegetated with trees and everything. This was, if you hike, this is the backside, and those are very dangerous snow patches that you have to cross. A slip here would be just over. The guy says 4 or 5 sections like this. This just happened. I think I got this either Sunday or Monday, off of the website. Oh, this one I think is important. You heard me say Thor, Mount Thor. Well, that's Thor right there, Mount Thor. Well, Thor is the same north-facing mountain that the switchbacks are on. So Doug Thompson uses his very knowledgeable brain and looks at that and says, well, listen, if that's got snow in it, I know that the switchbacks have snow on it, because you can't see the switchbacks from down on the road. But that is a lot of snow.
Point out Whitney Portal from there.
Whitney Portal is way down, well, those are the bushes, but they're still down here, John. It's close. Good bits. What else? Anything else? That's the store when there was snow, filled up. There's that same old restroom. Look at that hat it's wearing. Isn't that something? So we're just not used to, don't do that to Snake. We're just not used to seeing this kind of snow at the portals when the portals are open. So I don't want to be a downer for anybody that thinks, you've got permits for tomorrow and you're going to have a great trip, and then it doesn't quite work out that way. I want you to be realistic about the conditions. Go as far as you can safely when you do go. People are struggling just to get past Lone Pine Lake at the moment. But again, it's early. It's still early. If we have a massive heat wave, guess what's going to happen? Snow's going to melt, and they're going to flood the valley. Every creek you try to cross will be giant size. So, yes, sir.
Jack, for those of us who don't have a permit this year, we all can search and find out when the trails will be open and the switchbacks will be open. Are we out of luck if we don't have a permit, or how can we?
Well, the way to get the permit is still the same operational. There's no more lottery. But I have to tell you, I think the system is flawed, because for the person that doesn't use their permit, unless they report it back to rec.gov, we're not going to use it, then that's a dead permit. As soon as they print that permit, that's a dead permit. Print it, that's a dead permit. You can only print it a week before you hike. The older system, which it was much easier to use. You could go in the ranger station at 12 o'clock and say, do you have any cancellations? They say, yeah, we're going to have some cancellations. You go back at 2 o'clock, probably you could get something for the next day. So I think the system is just really rough.
So you can't do that anymore.
No. But they did say, I read, John, whether you ask, is there no-shows? A no-show is somebody that either hasn't confirmed their permit, or printed their permit, or turned it back in. And they said, you go in 12 o'clock. Well, I haven't seen that yet. I heard. So it's rough. It's hard to get that permit. But what I do is I just keep continuously looking, because if somebody did cancel it, call Reg and says, we're not going to wear that, we're not going to use that permit, then they're obligated to put it back in the system. Whatever that date is, they can put it back in. And if you find it, grab it, lock in. You get 15 minutes to pay for it, and so on. So, anything else? Anything else, Bets? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Get that snake. Get that snake. I don't like snakes. A lot of questions. Come on, give me another question. I want to hear a question.
Have you done Mount Langley?
Mount what?
Langley.
Me?
Langley.
Is it a 14er?
It's not that crazy.
Is-
Not quite.
No. If it's a 14er, I don't go. Unless it's Mount Whitney. Betsy's climbed Mount Langley. Yeah. No, I don't do other 14ers other than the one that I go on. But Langley's a neat hike. And there's Russell. Russell's really neat too. Not that I've done it, but you've been a great audience, and I really hope that you have a successful summer, a successful trip when you do go. And if you want to find me, go to crazyjack.com, whatever, and I've got my email on there. Send me a note. I'll send you something back. And if you meet me on the trail, just be nice to me. I tell people I had four absolutes when I hiked, when I was really hiking quick. One year I did it 13 times. But the absolutes were no talking, 2 potty stops. That was it.
No pictures.
No pictures. And if that group doesn't move over after you've asked them ever so nicely, you just give them an elbow when you run by them. So, but thanks everybody for coming. Really appreciate having you here and enjoy talking to you.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Jack. We're going to wrap it up here. Excellent presentation, Jack. Thank you for all that. Let's not forget that there are a lot of great places in the Sierra and all over California and all over the Southwest that are less than 12,000 feet that are great places to go. So if we can't do Mount Whitney this year,
Right.
We're sorry, Jack. And he hasn't been to other mountains because that's why they call him Crazy Jack. Betsy went to Kilimanjaro with Kurt and Jack. No, I'm gonna do Whitney.
She's going to go hike across Scotland in July.
In Scotland, and you're going? Are you going? No. You'll wait it out. So anyway, Jack, thank you. A long friendship. I do want to point out we do have some celebrities in the audience tonight, and we weren't going to have a raffle, but I just can't resist with this great crowd. So, but there's no raffle tickets, so you're going to participate in helping me with this semi-raffle. I want to point out a few celebrities. First of all, I'd like to thank Mike Morati for, he's been filming these presentations for us. Mike is A16's archivist. He's a filmmaker, and he's working on a documentary about Adventure 16. And we've become great friends, and I want to thank you for filming these. Mike, in a couple weeks, we'll have this up on our website so you can see this or tell all of your friends about it and get Jack's wisdom on this presentation. So, Mike, thank you for all the work that you do. I didn't say this earlier, but Jack happens to be one of the board members of our foundation. Adventure 16 has a foundation, and we've always worked to get gear into the hands of underprivileged people or underserved youth who are in need of gear. And when we closed down Adventure 16, we raised a bunch of money and put it into the foundation. We've changed the name from Donate a Pack Foundation to Adventure 16 Foundation, and we are working with a couple organizations to give gear grants to youth who this summer will be going on either an Outward Bound trip or a Knowles trip. So we're doing that, and Jack is board member. Robin Peterson is also a board member, a former A16er, and so that group is together, and it's one of the reasons to keep A16 alive is for the purposes of that foundation. We have one more big celebrity in the audience that I want to introduce, and that's Steve Williams. Steve, will you raise your hand here, and I'll tell you a little bit about this young man here. Despite his youthful looks, Steve joined Adventure 16 when I was probably still in diapers. This is late 60s. Back in the day when Andy Drollinger was the founder and the owner of Adventure 16, and Steve was the first store manager at Adventure 16. He was one of the pioneers in the industry. 1 year, you've been retired. Anyway, Steve, say hi to him, and it's just so wonderful to have him be with us tonight. The thing that is most famous about Steve is the fact that when I was about 14, he drugged me up Talkies mountain up in Idlewild for my first climb, and more importantly, he got me back down. So we can thank Steve for that and for turning me on to rock climbing back in the 70s and getting me back down. So Steve, it's an honor to have you here tonight, and thank you for all the work you did with Adventure 16 for, I guess it was probably 10, 15 years. He worked with people at A16 like Wayne Gregory, who I talked to today, and Wayne Gregory, for many of you who know that who invented the Gregory Mountain products, great, wonderful packs, and is still involved doing design. So anyway, Steve, thank you. I do want to, and I introduced my wife, she's in the back, she's going to kill me for saying that, but Cindy's here, and I have to include her in the important people here. Okay, and we're going to do a little bit of a raffle, and Jack's going to help me here. This shirt is one that was actually designed by my son, who's involved with A16 as well, and it's a A16 old logo back in the 70s that is encircling a silhouette of Mount, what is it? Mount Whitney. Thank you. And it comes in 4 sizes, 4 or 5 sizes and 4 colors. And we are going to give this shirt, and actually, you can just tell me, whoever wins this, I'm just going to mail it to you, whatever your size and you want, the color you want. And it's going to be a really, really easy, I'm just going to ask a question. And it's a really easy question. And Jack's going to help me pick the person that maybe can put their hand up first. Alrighty? What is the elevation in feet today? You can raise your hand now of Mount Whitney.
Very good.
Boom. So I knew a lot of people would have it. You were the first to raise your hand. You get this, and you can look at it. You can hold it, and then give it back to me and tell me your size and the color you want, and we'll roll with that. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank Helix Brewing. Jack, thank you again. Betsy, thank you. And we'll see you hopefully next week for another presentation on Wild Wednesday at Helix Brewing.